Holy cow, wrong line.
What's up everybody, Max Lock back again with another video. This time we are at Americus for round 2 of the 2026 MHSC series. And this is the first start of 2. This is the only time I've ever experienced this during any kind of racing. But they had a problem with the track, and so we ended up, you'll see in a second, but we ended up getting rerouted back to the finish line. And went through scoring and then had to go back and restart. So the crew that was there handled it really well. I think the leader took off whenever he realized we were going the wrong way, and he ran part of a lap and then got back to the start and went from there. But the rest of us kind of sat there in the scoring chute and waited on them to get it lined out and figured out what they were going to do, and they made decisions quickly, got us back over there, gave us a bottle of water, and sent us back out on our way. So I thought it was handled really well. I was, kind of a bummer. I'm sure it's not the way they wanted it to go too, but it is what it is, and everybody made the best of it. As you can see, that start there was pretty horrendous. Made quite a bit of passes here right off the start. There were 25 guys on the line for the C30 class for this weekend's race, and I could see why. The weather was perfect, the dirt was perfect. It was just an awesome time. Unfortunately, I did not have any front brakes, none. I took them off. I took them off before we went. I was debating on whether or not to even ride. Thought about riding Jake's 4-stroke. But didn't want to. He was coming down to race, and he was going to bring it as a backup, and didn't want to put him in a tough spot or me in a weird spot. Also, don't really like riding other people's stuff. I have another friend who I text, and he was going to let me borrow his bike, but I just said, you know what, I'm going to chance it. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to run with no front brake and just kind of ride around and see what I can do. I got a rebuild kit for the front master cylinder and the front caliper, and I am not a mechanic, but I do work on my own stuff, and I think this is one of the times that bit me. I'm not sure where I messed up, but I clearly messed something up. I could never get them to bleed, never get any kind of brake lever feel, so we're gonna try it again with some new parts this week. Honestly, I think I had something in the brake line that I was never able to get out, so that was kind of the only existing part that wasn't a hard part. You can see there they're kind of holding up the ribbon. Nobody really knew what was going on. We kind of shoot around here and end up back at the scoring. But anyway, back to the brake situation. So it was frustrating Friday night and Saturday, trying to get it fixed, trying to get it lined out. Called around to try and find a brake line. Nobody had one. None of the local KTM shop had one. So we just went without and did okay. I don't use my front brake a whole lot, but apparently I use it quite a bit because I was sure missing it. Caused a big wreck for me in the first lap, so you'll kind of see that. That'll be on here in a little bit, and that really messed up most of my day. But anyway, here we go with the second start. This one was a lot better. I got off to a much better start here.
All right, good luck again. Hey, good luck, brother. Hopefully you get a good start again.
So you can see much better start there that time. Kind of mid-pack, and then try to start making some moves from here. Jake Mueller's right in front of me on the 611 YZ250 right there. He had a pretty good race too. I get around him right here, and then that kind of stayed in front of him the rest of the race. But I know he had gone down every lap, he said, but other than that, had a good race, and always love racing with him and riding with him. Real good buddy, and we have a lot of fun riding together. This track was really a lot of fun. A lot of it was in reverse of what it was last year. There were some new sections in. There was a rock section that was really cool, that got quite a bit of attention, like on Facebook and stuff. There was two ways to go about it. You could stay to the left and kind of pick your way through them, or there was another section, I guess you would call it, to the right, which is the way that I took all 3 laps. I found it to be a bit easier for me, kind of wheelied up onto a big rock and then rode through it. But this property has everything. I mean, you can see here the dirt's phenomenal. We're up kind of in a field right off the edge of it. A bunch of dips and gullies and rocks here and there, but not everywhere. It's a fun time. It's a really cool track. I enjoyed it a lot last year. I ended up 7th this year, and oddly enough, I ended up 7th last year. Last year, it was a little faster. It was very dusty, and I was only able to run 3 laps. I was in 5th place, but on my 3rd lap, I had a big wreck where my throttle stuck wide open, and I ate shit, and I didn't know it at the time, but I actually broke my collarbone. So that hurt. Pulled off, and then got checked out by the field medics. They didn't really feel anything and kind of just said I'll be fine, and toughed it out. Knew I needed to go to work on Monday, and knew I had another race in a couple weeks, so I never went and got it checked out. And then with the big break between the first round and the second round, I was actually out at St. Joe riding and wrecked out there and thought that I broke my ribs, so I went to get them x-rayed, and they said that the ribs aren't broke, which I'm not sure I believe that, because they still hurt very badly. Maybe that's just the way that rib injuries are. However, they did ask if I had any previous injuries on that side, and I said not that I know of, and then kind of talked about that wreck, and she showed me a picture, or a picture of the x-ray, and my collarbone grew back kind of funny. So I've had kind of a lump there since the accident last year, so it all kind of came together full circle there, seeing it in an x-ray. But it doesn't affect my mobility or range of motion or anything like that, so just let it be. It is what it is. Bumps and bruises and scars will tell the story, I guess. So, but absolutely awesome track. Wish I could have been a little more confident and pushed a little harder, but like I said, without the front brake, I don't feel like I squeeze on it a whole lot, but enough to where I knew I was really missing it coming into just about every corner, down hills a lot. Pretty hard to ride without it. See, I'm trying to find some little alternative lines here. Just trying to not really push too hard here in this first lap. Know that we have the whole race ahead of us, and we're not even but maybe a mile in, or maybe not quite yet. And but still kind of looking and searching and see if I can get around. I see that nobody's really in front of this guy, so I wanted to get around him, kind of catch back up to the group here. I always do appreciate guys pulling over. You'll see later in this video, I don't usually rev at people in my class, but there was a guy that was holding me up pretty bad, and you know, racing and in the moment being competitive. I was frustrated with it. Once it's all, I never mean anything by it at all. We're all out here for fun, having a good time racing. If somebody, you know, takes it the wrong way, I'm sorry, but that's, you know, I'm just competitive. I don't know how else to explain it. You know, whenever I get behind somebody and I'm back there for too long and I feel like they're holding me up, I can't help it but kind of holler a little bit and give them a rev and try and get them out of the way. But it's never anything personal. It's just is what it is, I guess. Kind of apologizing, kind of saying I'm not sorry. So there's some guys bottled up here, we can see. So gonna take a little line, saw through the woods, get around a couple more guys. I felt really good this first section of track here where people were kind of getting hung up and stuck and everybody was sorting themselves out, being able to catch back up to a group and then trying to find lines to pass them or seeing whenever there are bottlenecks and stuff. That's something that in the past I've struggled with. Usually wherever I start is kind of where I end up, or falling backwards the whole time, never really pressuring to go forward. So far this year, been happy with that. Didn't feel like I rode the absolute best this weekend, but I did feel pretty good. There was not a lot of mud, but this section right here was pretty sloppy. It's right next to like a little cattle pond or something, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of in the bottoms there, and kind of caught a glimpse of it, but it was just a little wider of a trail, good dirt. It was just a little sloppy. Not too bad, just kind of hard to find traction. Yeah, you can see it here where it's real kicking up. This was a cool little rock feature too. Was actually able to hit it the next couple laps, and it was pretty fun. Just a short little ledge, but little things like that, man, when you're riding, just make you feel like you're on top of the world. I thought this part right here was really cool, right next to this bluff. It was just some really cool features in this property. I know it's not a ton of land, but they definitely do everything they can with it. And the last 2 years, this year and the year previous, I really enjoyed racing out here. that section there was tight. This whole area was real tight. Another cool little rock feature. Really, really fun with those mixed in. I think it helps kind of if you do have a mess up, just because it slows everybody down a little bit. That you kind of, I don't know. I felt like I was able to catch back up and get back into 7th, because even after I fall, I spent like 4 minutes messing around trying to get back going again. It took forever, and you'll see that here in a minute. But I mean, 4 minutes down is huge, but it just, the overall pace of the track, it was an 8-mile track, but it was fast in areas, but where it wasn't, it kind of gave you some separation and gave you some room, and allowed you to kind of catch some guys. I felt like maybe that's just me feeling that way. Maybe I rode halfway decent after I fell. I don't know, but that was just the way that I felt. love seeing people on the side of the trail like that, especially where there's nobody else at, especially being enthusiastic. I have to imagine we're still probably top half of the C30 of the morning race, so like the first group of riders that they're seeing. But to be that enthusiastic, it's fun. It's fun when you go by. Makes me laugh every single time. Puts a smile on my face. Probably should have pushed it a little harder there and just fucking sent it for the pass, but I didn't. Kind of mad at myself, kind of wishing I would have pushed. Not that it matters. I like to say I eat shit here coming up, but that's what I mean. I don't mean anything by it, man. We're just racing. We're racing, and adrenaline's pumping, and heart rate's up, and sometimes I yell and scream and rev, and I don't mean nothing by it. It's just fun. There's that rock section. That's I like that right side. I know a lot of people went left side, but I don't know. I went left in practice, and it was fine. It just felt kind of And something about that right side, I remember looking at it in practice and not taking it and thinking, that looked a little better. And it was, at least for me. I kind of did that same line every time, wheelied up onto that big rock, and then was able to skate out of there pretty easily. I did have new tires right before this, so maybe those really helped me out. I know I sure could feel them digging the whole race, and they're nothing special. They're just the Tusk IMEX or whatever they're called, the 35s. I'm a big believer in cheap tires. I don't know. I mean, maybe yeah, if you're like a pro, you can probably tell a difference between your Dunlops and your knockoffs or whatever, you know. But at my level, tall, fresh knobbies are way better than really worn out ones. So I'll buy 3 or 4 tires a year that are cheap if that's what I can do, versus spending $150 on an MX-14 that I wear out in a few weekends, and then what was really the point of it? That's not gonna make me that much faster. So that's the way I look at it. Tires are huge, probably one of the biggest advantages on a dirt bike, but I think fresh tires are better than a used, wore out, really expensive tire. So that's just my preference, my thought process on it. Like I say, I like these Tusk ones that I have on. There was a VE33. I forget what. I don't know. I know it's like the shortened name for them. There's a super long name. Whenever I bought the bike, and it seemed fine. I mean, it worked. It rode around, but I never had any issue on it. But you know, it was $30-$40 more than this one. So I don't know. This one suits me fine. I grew up riding on flat tires, honestly. So 100% flat tires for summers, whole summers. I had to buy all my own bike parts, and cutting grass was all I could do to keep gas in the bike. So that's what I did. I gassed it up and I rode around on flat tires and had fun. So I'm just happy to be a little further along in life now and be able to afford to buy any tires. So that's kind of my spiel on my tire choice there. Here's the easy hard split. This is where I messed up, so I should have stayed more to the left. I saw this line over here. I thought this was the hard line. I'm realizing now, I messed up. and down I go. A lot of that was no front brake. Most of that was horrible line choice.
Holy cow, wrong line.
So, picked a bad line. I get kind of going here again. I turn and look, and I see everybody coming. And I think I'm going to get out in front of them, and I think I don't want to cut them off, so I just cut across here. This was another bad mistake. Horrible line choice. This was like a little bluff section, kind of ran all the way across, but with no momentum, I couldn't do it. And I just hear everybody passing and passing. Get going again. Thought I was gonna just take off and climb it. It is slick, and I am not a hard enduro rider. So those two things, we don't go good together. Trying to be easy on the clutch here. Not spin the back tire, didn't work. I finally give up. You'll hear it in a second. I just rev bomb it to the moon, trying to get it to go somewhere. I'm walking next to the bike, everything I can do. Just can't get it to go. So we're out. Turn around. Alright, now I'm gonna climb the hill. Go back and come back at it again. That's my thought process. But I don't have a front brake to walk this damn bike down the hill. Also, I have a recluse clutch, so I can't just put it in gear and let it like ease itself down the hill. I got to do something about that recluse clutch eventually too. Not a fan of it. Not a fan at all. I can ride with it. I got it set to where it's basically non-existent, but yeah, I got to get that figured out. Now, of course, the bike won't start. And I'm breathing heavy and I'm wore out. On the struggle bus. Starting to realize that some of the 40 guys are starting to go around up there. And that's a bummer. Whenever you know the next class is starting to pass you, you know you're like a minute behind at that point at least, if not further. You are already behind. So I'm going to try and take off and get going this way, and guess what? I get stuck again. Maybe them cheap tires I was just talking about are what's biting me in the ass, but I don't think so. I think it's just my lack of momentum and skill at this point.
Oh my God,
I could have had the best tire in the world right here, and I still could have messed it up, I promise you.
Patty.
That's Patty Workman coming by. I remember seeing her, and she stopped and talked to him because she wanted to hit the hard line. Gave her a little holler there. Finally get her spun around here after a little J turn and a little maneuvering. I had everybody all messed up. I feel kind of bad for that. Wasn't trying to be the wrong way in the trail or whatever. I just kind of a bonehead move on my part. I was paying attention. I know the spotter or the sweeper guy was doing his part to try and keep everybody safe, and I do appreciate that. Here we go. Finally get going again. And I am whooped. Just gassed. No energy left. So you're gonna see a little slow Sunday cruise here for about a half mile or a mile or so. I just couldn't get her going again for a minute. Heart rate was skyrocketed. I was out of breath. Wasn't a good combo. I was debating pulling off. But you can't do that. You can't just quit. Bike's still running. You're still in one piece. You got to ride on. So that's what we ended up doing. I'm glad I did. I ended up with the 7th place, which isn't great. Not what I was hoping for, but better than what it could have been. Could have been sitting on the couch, not got anything. So. And would have been complaining about that too. So I'd rather go complain about no front brakes and whatever else I can think of to make excuses for than sit on the couch and feel sorry for myself. blew that turn. I think this is coming into the grass track section here.
Thank you.
Maybe we got another little woods piece here. But there's a grass track section that's coming up that, man, the dirt was so awesome in. It's one of those things, if you're just out there for fun and messing around for a day, I probably could have spent a good part of this Sunday on this grass track just trying to get faster, trying to hit the ruts a little better. The dirt was just so good. I know by the afternoon it seemed like it was a little drier. You could kind of see it from scoring, and you can even see there it's a little dusty, but it felt good when we were in it. The ruts were nice. It wasn't motocross track ruts by any means. It wasn't that deep, but for what we normally get, that was pretty cool. That's Braden Slade walking through the woods. Checking her out before his race. He was the MHSC overall champion last year. Don't know him personally, just seen him out and about. Know he's real fast. Here's my wonderful wife and 2 kids cheering me on back there. She is, she's the best. She helped me try and get my brakes split Friday and Saturday, and kind of encouraged me to go out there and give it a shot on Sunday, and probably wouldn't even been out there if it wasn't for her. And then got back from the practice lap Sunday, and my float was messing up, which it kind of had been anyway, and it was like letting fuel pass, but it would always quit if you tapped on it a little bit. Well, it wasn't, it was just flowing. So started tearing the bike down, got down to the carb, got it off, and I adjusted that float probably 3 times, I think 4 times. Take the carb apart, put it all back together, put the gas tank back on, turn the fuel on. Over adjusted it the first time, so ended up it wouldn't even take fuel into the float bowl. So I was struggling. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic, but I do work on my own stuff and have been for a long time, and I'm decent at it, but I'm not a professional by any means. But super patient. Jake was there, he was helping me, but my wife was there, holding the screws out of the bottom of the float bowl, and didn't say a word and just kind of let me do my thing. And both Jake and her were helping me keep track of bolts in the field and stuff like that, so I couldn't have done it without them, and I appreciate both of them, but definitely my wife, because I'm out here racing and she packed up everybody. I only ever worry about packing up myself, and then she's wrangling the kids the whole time that I'm out having a good time racing. And every time I come by, she's wanting to see where I'm at and paying attention, and we have good talks after the race about whatever, my speed and the race. She's paying attention. She knows the deal, and I'm very, very fortunate. I couldn't ask for a better pit crew. My son's getting older and starting to ride a little bit, and hopefully someday he'll kind of pick this up and take on too, and enjoy racing. But for now, he's kind of a wild man and pretty hard to keep happy or keep under control while I'm out here doing this. So hats off to her. She's the best. Couldn't do it without her. Find you a good wife. Find you a good wife who you have fun riding with, or who enjoys doing these things with you. It'll make a world of difference to you in the long run.
Balboa. Rocky!
I could hear that two-stroke just ripping, and I thought there was somebody coming up from C-class around me to pass me. Didn't realize it was just 125 ripping up that hill. So the guy just got around me, and the guy who was giving chase to him. So that was kind of a bummer there. I think I get them both back, though, coming up here somewhere along the line, if I remember right. No problems that time whenever I stayed in the right line that I was supposed to be in, and where the trail was, and there was some traction, not a bunch of leaves and loose rocks. Went right up, no problem. So really bummed I messed up that first lap, but that's part of it. That's part of the racing. That's part of the hare scramble. Big part of it. Line choice and when you make them and how you recover. So it is what it is. Still made for a fun day. Made it kind of interesting having to kind of come back and got a chance to battle with some people and actually do some racing, and that's pretty fun too. I was looking down to check on my fuel. I don't know what the deal is. I feel like this bike just absolutely burns through the fuel. And maybe they do. Maybe 300s with a stock size tank just go through fuel really quickly. But I don't. Man, it just feels like it's sucking it down. Like I can't believe it. Maybe it's just the way the tank's shaped, and maybe it's just the way that, you know, it looks because it goes behind the plastic for a while. I also am not a big fan of clear tanks, but am grateful for them in that situation. I could see that it was pretty low there. Knew I needed to stop whenever we came past scoring here. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Is it the 300, or is there something wrong that it's burning that much fuel? It'll go about an hour and 45 minutes before it's plumb dry. Once at an hour 45 minutes, it's out of fuel. That's on reserve. It's all the way out. So let me know what you think. Let me know what experience you have. Maybe I need to get an oversized tank. I don't really want to. I don't like the way they're shaped, but maybe that's the answer. comes that guy on that YZ125 getting back around me here.
They're coming. She was on the other side, Jim. We said third lap. I went second, dude. This thing's running out of fuel quick. I think my float's fucked up.
It's pretty nice of
It's all right, though. We'll get
Jeff to come over there and offer to help me. He's the president of the series out here for the MHSC,
Yeah,
and
you're sure. Thanks. Appreciate you, brother.
was, I guess, just happened to be there and saw that I was feeling up and came over and was trying to help me. So pretty cool in my eyes. It's all, everybody's out there to lend a hand and help out where they can. I think that's really cool. I got in behind junior rider in front of me, and then a couple C-class guys ahead of him, I believe, and they were ripping along pretty good, and so they kind of threw me out of line, and I towed in right behind them, ended up catching back up to the guy who passed me here in a bit, getting around him, and it was everything I could. I think I made it probably 3 or 4 miles trying to keep up with these fellas, and that was about all I could muster. I was flat wore out, but they were cruising along pretty good. I was really happy to see them, and don't know who they are or whatever, but they were moving, and it was good for me to have somebody like that to pace here at the end. It's so much easier to go fast whenever there's somebody out ahead of you who's faster than you are, and you're trying to keep up with them. It makes it you learn a lot that way. Oh, this route right here, it was all over Facebook. Boy, it was getting everybody. It was getting everybody. I saw a bunch of videos of guys going down right there. It was really slick, super slick. Just one of those spots, you know, where if you didn't hit it just right, it was taking you out. So the videos on Facebook were all kind of funny. I know my buddy Jake was on there. He unfortunately got taken out by it as well. So bummer for him, but he was all right. Got back up and raced on, obviously, but just a slick little spot, catching a lot of guys off guard.
come on, go, go.
Yeah, I think that was just the 3 mile marker right there, and that was about all the more I could handle hanging with them boys. They kind of slowed down a little bit, I feel like, there, and then whoever that was on the 4-stroke got around me, and then the junior class rider got around me, and they must have all linked back up and been battling or something, and they were gone. Left me in the dust. Finally dropped me. So, but I was pretty tired too. That was about all I could handle at this point in the race. So we'll get there. Got to get the bike situated, get myself situated, get my stamina up, and get in a little bit better shape. And I think we'll get there. Got a whole season ahead of us. So we'll see what happens. that pretty much does it for this video. That's just past 5 miles, that rock garden there. So just a few miles left in this one. Like I said, finished up in 7th place in C30, 20th overall for the 10 a.m. race. Was a lot of fun, had a blast like always. I love racing these things, even more whenever the weather's perfect, with some good friends and my family there. Really was a lot of fun. So anybody who's made it this far, what are you doing? Go to bed, go find something else to do. There's got to be something better to watch on YouTube. But if you did make it this far and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like, drop me a comment, something, you know, and I'll get back to you probably. So until the next one, I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you then.